For an entire week, conservatives at this table and across the country argued that Jimmy Kimmel's suspension was solely a business decision by ABC and not at all influenced by the government. And then Donald Trump wiped it away. He again threatened ABC for bringing Kimmel back, and now his vice president is contradicting that, claiming that the administration's threats are all just a joke.
Well, people will say as well, didn't the FCC commissioner put a tweet out that said something bad? Well, compare that, the FCC commissioner making a joke on social media. What is the government action that the Trump administration has engaged in to kick Jimmy Kimmel or anybody else off the air? Zero. What government pressure have we brought to bear to tell people that they're not allowed to speak their mind? Zero. We believe in free speech in the Trump administration. We are fighting every single day to protect it.
Now, before we discuss, it's worth noting that Kimmel's return scored 3 times his average viewership on TV and 15 million views on YouTube. That's a lot of people, perhaps some Sinclair and Nexstar subscribers, but I can't imagine that the vice president is not aware of what actually happened here, because Brendan Carr's comments were pretty out in the open, Bakari. He said, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. He threatened the broadcast licenses. That wasn't said in a social media post. It was said with his own mouth on a podcast.
I just want people to understand that it wasn't just the broadcast licenses. What's happening is you have a merger that is attempting to be pulled off behind the scenes. And as I always tell people with Trump, we always like to go to the cruelty or whatever we might view as cruelty or whatever, the politics of it. But there's usually a profit motive. And that's what we saw here. I wish that Bob Iger and Disney and ABC would play the same games with Sinclair and Nexstar, which is simply say, look, you put Jimmy Kimmel back on the air, you're not getting Monday Night Football. I mean, let's play the same games, because all of this boils down to the dollar. We saw that last night. And I do believe that Jimmy Kimmel did a good job last night, and he actually preserved himself for the future thanks to Donald Trump. He is going to be on air for a long time, regardless of how you feel, thanks to Donald Trump.
I think Disney deserves credit. I mean, look, I work for ABC News, but I also think that Disney deserves credit for putting him back. Look, I'm someone who got canceled, right? I hosted a show called Live PD. It followed live police departments around the country. It was the #1 rated show on television. We got canceled in the wake of the George Floyd incident. Why? Because people who didn't support the police decided this is a time to get rid of any kind of live policing show. I am very surprised that he was able to get back on as quickly as he was, because I will tell you, we had to sit on the sidelines for almost 2 years before getting back again. Wasn't a business decision. This was the #1 show on Friday and Saturday night.
It's a great show.
In the demo.
Richland County Sheriff's Department.
You got screwed by anti-police.
We got screwed by the anti-police, and now it's called On Patrol Live. Now it's on Reels. It's back. But my point is that it takes some guts to be able to step in after suspending someone and then say within a week, we're going to put him back on, which is why Trump is so angry about it, because it feels to many people like a slap on the wrist, which it is.
Well, one of the interesting things about that example, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that was their concern about the public backlash to that show being on the air, right? One of the points Jimmy Kimmel made last night is that the government's involvement in his suspension is not really so much about him, but about the free speech principles. Listen to part of his monologue from last night.
This show is not important. What is important is that we get to live in a country that allows us to have a show like this. The President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods because he can't take a joke. The government threat to silence a comedian the president doesn't like is anti-American.
Yeah, so, he's drawing a clear distinction there because, obviously everybody faces pressures from their viewers. Disney did with Dan's show.
That wasn't Disney, but yeah.
I apologize, but that show, and they're facing it now with the viewers, but they're also facing it from the president, and that's the real problem.
It's not necessarily the viewers. Let's be clear. It's not necessarily the viewers. A lot of the time, it's the executives who are feeling the pressure, not necessarily the viewers.
But I think, the conservatives have been feeling this for a lot longer. So I totally hear what you're saying. CNN's own Brian Stelter went on and said the same thing about Lou Dobbs when he was let go. It's a culture of consequences, not cancel culture. So we have, been in that situation before. It's an executive decision. Look, I think Senator Cruz has been the best on this topic. Senator Thune joined him today talking about, the freedom of speech and basically saying, Carr misspoke or, was wrong what he was saying. So that's where I'm looking to for on this issue, because I think they've been brilliant on it and really handled it the right way. And look, the market will decide. I personally don't think Jimmy Kimmel was very funny. I think last night was the best night of his entire career, and he probably won't have another one like that. I still think Fallon's more funny, and all the other guys are more funny. So I don't think he, if his ratings stay and he stays on air, then great. If they fall and he gets replaced,
I think there's two things here. One, he used in his monologue last night, Senator Cruz and I, we host a podcast together. And we both took a lot of heat for our position, which is we're in favor of free speech, period. I think there's been a course correction with the Trump administration on this. I like that. I was willing to speak out. Senator Cruz was willing to speak out. We were saying you don't use the FCC and weaponize it to shut down or silence people you disagree with. I will always stand by that, even if I take heat for it. What I didn't like about what I saw from Jimmy Kimmel last night is the fact that he has more passion for this issue than he did for showing compassion for Charlie Kirk's widow and the Kirk family. And then he says it was just a joke. I think it's sad that there was this much rallying around him emotionally as he got last night and still refuses to show any compassion to the Kirk family.
Let me just what he said before, though. But 2 days before that, he denounced the people who are celebrating. He went after them on his show.
So he lied on his show.
He got it wrong, no doubt about it.
No, he lied on his show.
But he also talked
and we
about,
knew what
but
was.
last
what
night,
hold on, wait,
I mean,
wait,
did you see the part of the reason I'm interrupting you is because did you see the part of the monologue where he talked about Erica Kirk? He choked up when he was talking about her speech at the memorial service.
I'm sorry.
I understand what you're saying, but
It's not
I think to
hard.
suggest that he was cold.
He was cold
to the Kirk family. I don't think is
it
accurate.
wasn't warm. This is the delusion of this conversation. He literally said that he was killed by somebody that was in MAGA. That was a lie. We knew that wasn't true. And he refused to apologize last night.
Let me ask you a question.
Real men with integrity walk out there and say,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
So has Don Jr. and Elon Musk and Senator Mike Lee apologized for saying that the Minnesota shooter was on the left?
I don't know if they have or not.
Okay, they haven't.
They have
Okay.
not.
So my point is,
case,
it's the exact same
I'm okay
thing.
with that. But Jimmy Kimmel, I think
with
you can agree, this was a bigger issue at the moment.
It got more attention.
A lot more. He was crying on set.
But this was also a
He's
political.
crying on set.
Minnesota's
Not
relevant.
crying for Charlie Kirk
But not
or
only
his
Minnesota,
wife.
but not
crying
only,
because
but not
woe
only,
is me in my career.
This is why this somewhat falls on deaf ears, because this is why those individuals who are not Democrats or Republicans find all of us to be full of it. Because the simple fact is, Don Jr. had a picture of a hammer in underwear after Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked in his home, right? And so when you have individuals who do that, and then you say you have all these other talking points about people chanting and celebrating Charlie Kirk's death on the left, and you don't really give a complete look at the voices who are saying that we condemn that. But let me just say,
lie about it, though.
But if you want to talk about the lie, I mean, look at everybody on Fox News who lied about 2016. I mean, is that the barometer?
Let me give Adam a second.
I agree with Bakari. We should look at the full picture. If you want to talk about Erica Kirk, she said she doesn't hate the other side. Then Donald Trump came on stage right after and said, I do hate my opponents. This is the president of the United States, not some comedian. And by the way, it is so incredibly clear that Trump is pulling every lever possible to make sure that everybody consolidates around him ideologically, whether it's with Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off the air, whether it's with Comey. I mean, I did the research. Donald Trump's priorities are so off that he has mentioned Comey on his Truth Social 2,042 times.
Yeah,
how many times do you think he's mentioned?
How
many times has he mentioned inflation? How many times has he mentioned inflation?
Well, when you fix inflation, you don't have to mention it.
He did not fix it, and he's mentioned
he
it.
has.
He's mentioned it half as many
Look at Wall
times as
Street.
Comey.
You're just wrong.
He's mentioned inflation half as many times as Comey on his Truth
Because
Social.
he actually
because
works
his
on it.
priorities
But
lie
again,
in petty vengeances. Ben, let me finish.
Go back.
His priorities lie.
We're talking about inflation right now,
priorities
not
lie
about
in
Jimmy
petty
Kimmel.
I'm just letting him
vengeances.
finish his point. Then we got to.
I'm just trying to say Donald Trump's priorities lie in petty vengeances, going after
Just fixes
Comey,
stuff.
going after Kimmel, and he's not
the economy
fixing this
good or
tariff
bad?
media. Right now, unweemployment is up.
Is
right
the
now,
economy good or bad right now?
We're going to leave it there.
Tariffs are making it worse.
All right,
Okay.
next for us,
Good
the
talking.
president introduces a new renovation at the White House, and this one trolls his predecessor.
Have I got